Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I'm Martin and I share videos about my life in Germany as an expat and automotive test engineer and photographer. So make sure to click the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notifications whenever I release new videos. Today we will be talking if the diesel ban in Germany is actually worth it or is it just a big scam. Before I begin, I want to state two things. First of all, I'm fully aware of the global warming situation and all that stuff. I'm not one of those people that say global warming is a hoax and stuff. And second, banning combustion engines is something that I expected. I'm in the automotive industry after all, and it's expected for some years now, so it's not the question whether this is happening or not, or it is more of the way how it's happening. And what do I mean by that? So today I will give you a bit information, try to sort of lower it down so I don't bore you that much with the more mathematical and scientific and blah blah whatever approach. I will try to show you why this approach that Germany has taken is more of a hoax and a scam than actually will have some effect on the environment. Actually, one of the things that made me sit down and talk about this topic, I read online that Frankfurt, which is one of my favorite cities here in Germany, is going to ban up to Euro 5 diesel cars and up to Euro 2 petrol engine cars. Also, a couple of other cities are going to do this, like Stuttgart, which is really crazy for me because Stuttgart is an automotive center, like the best automotive place to be in Germany, because you have the headquarters for Mercedes and Porsche as well there. A lot of also automotive related companies, mainly automotive related companies. So let's start with telling you, actually, if you're not familiar, how Germany is going to approach this. There are talks in the past months how they are going to handle it. Basically, they gave the freedom to every city to decide whether they want to ban or not to ban diesel cars, which are Euro 5 standard or lower for diesel cars, and Euro 1 and 2 for petrol engine. Why does this doesn't make any sense to me? So first of all, we need some information here in order to build up this argument, and we'll start with basic data for the CO2 emissions released when burning 1 liter of petrol and 1 liter of diesel. So for petrol, if we burn 1 liter, you get 2.3 kilograms of CO2 emissions, and for diesel, if you burn 1 liter, you get 2.6 liters. This is like generalized numbers because it depends always on the quality of the fuel and other benefactors as well, but these are like average numbers you get. So you might say right now, okay, you get more CO2 emissions with diesel, then what's the problem in banning more diesels than petrol cars? The problem is that when you take two cars which have roughly the same horsepower, because basically this is what determines on how much consumption you're going to have for a car, you'll get a different end amount. So I'll be using my current car and my previous car in order to make this comparison and tell you what's wrong exactly here. So my current car is a 2013 Mercedes GLK, which is a Euro 5 diesel, and it's going to be banned from some cities in Germany. And my previous car is a 2007 Dodge Caliber with a petrol engine. They both have a similar horsepower, so these are the statistics I have written them down here. The Mercedes has a 2.1 diesel engine with 141 horsepower, and the Dodge has a 1.8 petrol engine with 148 horsepower. So you can see basically they're not that different. Also, Dodge at that time was owned by Mercedes, so this European version of the Caliber was developed fully by them. And here comes the difference actually. This is what statistics provide. I do not say that they do not lie, because this is always like that. The automotive industry always have rigged statistics and bend the rules during lab tests, for example, and stuff like that. And also you always get lower values during laboratory tests instead of real-world driving, because you're basically making the experiments in perfect conditions and they can be modified such that will lead to lower numbers. So by official data, the Mercedes has 143 grams of CO2 per kilometer, and the Dodge has 174 grams. And also the Dodge is Euro 4, unlike the Mercedes, which is Euro 5. Directly by statistics, the Dodge is more bad for the environment, but it will be allowed on the roads. But if we don't trust the statistics, there is another way. That's why I provided these values for 1 liter burned petrol and 1 liter burned diesel, how much CO2 they produce. And we're going to make some calculations here based on the average consumption that's provided by the manufacturer, as well as the average consumption I had driving those cars. So the average consumption provided by Mercedes for the GOK is 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers of diesel. What I've noticed is, for me, it's more of a 6.1 per 100 kilometers. With the Dodge, the official one is around 10 liters of petrol per 100 kilometers, but it was around 12 for me. To make the calculations now, first we're going to compare the official statistics, and I'll just see how much CO2 we're going to get multiplying this. This is a simplification of this calculation. Usually they're way more complicated, but this is so you get a feel of what's really wrong here. I'm not going for full accuracy, just to show you how they differ. So with the official statistics for the Mercedes, we have 17.16 kilograms of CO2, unlike the Dodge, which we get 23 kilograms of CO2. So directly here you can see that there is a huge difference given from the official data, and when we go to the data, real world driving data, we have 15.86 for the Mercedes, and that's kilograms CO2, against 27.6 for the Dodge. This is like almost double. The difference is almost doubled here. Also, when you take into consideration that the Dodge is an 11-year-old car compared to the Mercedes, which is a 5-year-old car, the technology inside is totally different. They've included a lot of new features in the Mercedes to keep it more eco-friendly. No person can basically come up to me and say that an 11-year-old car is more eco-friendly than an equivalent car which is 5 years old. The technologies have developed so much over these years that it's just not possible. Even you can see from the data that it's not possible. Why do I think they've chosen this approach here? First of all, one thing I noticed in the past 1 year is that fuel prices have gone up with roughly 20 to 30%. Of course, petrol is more expensive. When the petrol stations and the importers pay taxes for this, they pay more amounts to the government. By making people switch to petrol, that means more petrol will be imported, more taxes, and this will be a gain. Also, another thing is, I feel like they're overcompensating for Dieselgate. Yes, Volkswagen screwed up. Yes, they got caught, but that doesn't mean they have to overcompensate by banning nice cars, eco-friendly cars, and leaving other which are not so eco-friendly on the road. For me, a good approach here is, let's say, to ban everything Euro 4 and below, if they want to do this in order to provide a higher quality of the air in the cities. There is a reason why both diesel and petrol cars are rated with Euro standards and not Euro diesel and Euro petrol. Basically, it says these cars are equally eco-friendly or non-eco-friendly if you go with the lower numbers. Even if we take into account that the manufacturers lied more about the numbers regarding diesel engines than petrol engines, basically we did some small calculations. Even with real-world data, it goes even more into the favor of diesel engines. This is mainly because diesel engines have lower consumptions in general than petrol engines. Yes, some will say you have the nitro oxide particles, but then again, basically every diesel car for the last 5 years have these DPF filters, which are really good. They incinerate everything that's built up in there and minimize those things as much as possible. The only thing that I approve from recent discussions about how the European Union is going to deal with this in general is the fact that tests will be run in real world conditions. And I do approve it to some extent because real-world condition tests have proven over the years that they can also be manipulated from timing perspective and roadworthiness and stuff like that. For example, every day people are setting new records for range of electric cars or petrol engine cars or diesel engine cars, and this is solely based on small factors like what's the temperature, what's the weather like, is it dry, is it wet, what kind of tires are you using, what kind of surface are you driving on, is it nice tarmac, is it poorly done asphalt, is it uphill, downhill, flat. All these things matter a lot for the data. So yeah, would love to hear your thoughts on the topic. Leave a comment down below. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know. I would really want to hear other people's opinion on this. But summed up, Euro 5 diesels are not worse than Euro 3 petrol engine cars, and there should be an equal ban to some extent. Also, don't think that we've reached the point where we should ban Euro 5 cars. This is not just because it affects me personally. I do think that Euro 5 cars are pretty okay. They're still in the high range of prices. I'm not saying that because I'm driving a Mercedes that's why they are in the higher range. Most of them are 5-year-old cars, so they're still pretty expensive for some people, and especially if they're not looking to invest a lot of money in a car. They just need something to drive from point A to point B. So yeah guys, that's it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I clarified as much as possible the diesel situation here.